All the information shared in this video is available on the public platform. Nothing is discussed here which may breach the confidentiality of our armed forces. Defense Detective respects our defense forces and works only on the information that is available for public use.
President Vladimir Putin has ordered Russian forces to rehearse deploying tactical nuclear weapons as part of military drills to respond to what he called threats by the West. Russia's defense ministry said during the exercises, a set of measures will be carried out to practice the issues of preparation and use of non-strategic nuclear weapons. Non-strategic or tactical nuclear weapons can be used in battlefield situations, carrying less power than strategic nuclear weapons, which have the potential to level entire cities. Russia's defense ministry said the drills were ordered after provocative statements and threats by Western officials against Russia, which Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said had reached unprecedented levels. Since invading Ukraine in 2022, Putin has repeatedly made veiled threats to use tactical nuclear weapons against the West, but Monday marked the first time Russia has publicly announced drills. This comes after a Ukrainian drone attack killed 6 people and wounded over 30 in Russia's Belgorod border region, which turned out to be one of the deadliest attacks inside Russia since the start of the full-scale invasion over 2 years ago. The drill's announcement also comes shortly after the United States last month passed a long-delayed aid package for Kyiv, which will allow desperately needed military equipment and ammunition to flow to Ukraine as it tries to shore up its front lines in the face of a renewed Russian onslaughts. Russian forces last month made further gains in at least 3 locations along Ukraine's eastern front, as Moscow tries to press home its manpower and ammunition advantage before the bulk of the US aid arrives in Ukraine. Russia has tended to raise the nuclear specter when its invasion of Ukraine has hit obstacles or when other countries make new pledges of support for Ukraine. After Ukraine liberated large swathes of its territory in late 2022, Putin conceded that the war is going to take a while and warned of the increasing threat of nuclear war. In February last year, Putin announced that Russia would suspend participation in the New START Treaty, a key nuclear arms reduction agreement with the United States, the last remaining pact that regulates the world's 2 largest nuclear arsenals. Putin said Russia would not be the first to test nuclear weapons, but would do so in the event of a US test. After Macron said in February that sending Western troops to Ukraine could not be ruled out, Putin warned this really threatens a conflict with the use of nuclear weapons and therefore the destruction of civilization. French President Emmanuel Macron last week reaffirmed that he would not rule out sending Western troops to Ukraine, as he warned of the risks Russia poses to European security and other countries near its borders. Macron told The Economist magazine, "I'm not ruling anything out, because we are facing someone who is not ruling anything out. I have a clear strategic objective. Russia cannot win in Ukraine. If Russia wins in Ukraine, there will be no security in Europe. Who can pretend that Russia will stop there?" And during a visit to Ukraine last week, British Foreign Secretary David Cameron said that Ukraine could use British-supplied weapons to strike targets inside Russia.
The UK is once again absolutely leading the way in how we support Ukraine. The announcement by the Prime Minister that we will give £3 billion every year for as long as is necessary, and we've just really emptied all we can in terms of gifting equipment, and the biggest amount of equipment we've been able to give so far, and some of that is arriving today. In terms of what the Ukrainians do, in our view, it is their decision about how to use these weapons. They're defending their country. They were illegally invaded by Putin, and they must take those steps. We don't discuss any caveats that we put on those things, but let's be absolutely clear. Russia has launched an attack into Ukraine, and Ukraine absolutely has the right to strike back at Russia.
Including inside Russia?
Well, that's a decision for Ukraine, and Ukraine has that right. Just as Russia is striking inside Ukraine, you can quite understand why Ukraine feels the need to make sure it's defending itself, it's getting the Russians out of its country, and it has the ability to strike back.
In terms of what the Ukrainians do, in our view it is their decision about how to use these weapons. They are defending their country. They were illegally invaded by Putin and they must take those steps, Cameron told reporters after the United Kingdom pledged continued financial and military support for Ukraine. The war in Ukraine, which started on 24 February 2022, has led to the worst crisis in Moscow's relations with the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. During the course of the war, Putin issued several warnings to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, members against sending military assistance and ground troops to Ukraine as he said it would cause a direct confrontation between NATO and Russia. US President Joe Biden and State Department officials have previously downplayed concerns that Putin could deploy a nuclear weapon, but continue to take the threats seriously. In response to Russia's latest announcement, the US said it had seen no change in Russia's strategic force posture following Moscow's announcement that it would begin tactical nuclear weapons drills, according to Pentagon spokesperson Major General Patrick Ryder. Ryder said Russia's announcement is completely inappropriate and an example of the kind of irresponsible rhetoric that we've seen from Russia in the past. In late 2022, the US began preparing rigorously for Russia potentially striking Ukraine with a tactical nuclear weapon, in what would have been the first nuclear attack in war since the US dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki nearly 80 years before, two senior administration officials previously told CNN. In Monday's announcement, Russia's defense ministry said the military's general staff had begun preparations for conducting exercises in the near future with missile formations of the southern military district involving aviation as well as naval forces.